From every strand on the line of your reel, to the rods, to the anglers, to the lures on the end of your hook, let's talk about those big bass here on Co-Angler's Corner with your hosts, Rob Welch and John Stoudinger.
Good evening, everybody. I'm John.
Hi, y'all are. Cajun Rob here hanging out with you.
And thank you, sir, for covering for me last night. I appreciate it.
Hey, no problem, man. I had a great guest. Henry always brings it, man. If y'all didn't tune in, catch the replay, Henry, man, he lets it out there, and he'll tell you exactly what he thinks. He's a straight shooter through and through. Great guy.
Yeah. Yeah, he is. And he's also a Northeasterner. But anyways, we won't talk too much about that. But tonight we have Robert Wroblewski coming on. He's a passionate angler who's steadily making his mark on the tournament scene. He not only fishes local stuff, but he fishes the NPFL. And one of the reasons why I wanted to have him on is because he just had his first tournament on the St. Lawrence River. And, you know, a lot of you guys hear stuff about how great a fishery it is, how, you know, and how rough it can get. So I want to get somebody who's first time on the St. Lawrence, and let's get his opinion and thoughts. Let's welcome Robert to the show.
What's going on,
Go, buddy.
Thank you for
How you
having me.
doing, sir?
All right.
Thank you.
Yes. So, for the people who don't know who you are, do you mind talking a little bit about yourself and how you got to where you are?
Yeah. So I'm originally from Southwest Florida, and I grew up in like the Naples, Fort Myers area. I've always had a passion to fish for as long as I can remember. I used to, on Saturday mornings, I used to, be up and watch like In Fisherman and all the Bassmaster, Ham Parker, Roland Martin, all the shows, so the Shaw Grisby shows and everything growing up. And, watching at the time, the Bassmasters, I've always wanted to do that. I've always wanted to compete. And, back in the day, this was 30 something years ago, if not longer. Bass fishing was just like, okay, it's just a hobby. It's just, you just go out there and fish. No, you can't really make a living on it, and then obviously, throughout the years, it's blossomed to the sport that it is now. And it's incredibly popular. And then there's more anglers and more people and more competition out there than it's ever been. So I grew up like fishing and guiding out of Lake Okeechobee. And that's really my stopping grounds. I also did guiding in saltwater as well on the Everglades City. So I used to target, snook, trout, redfish, tarpon, permit, jewfish, anything that can bite. Most of my clients that I brought on usually wanted to catch fish to eat. So usually like trout, the redfish, and the snook, depending on what the season is. Used to be my primarily type of fish. And then over the years, the permits, you had to get like a special park permit in order to guide in Everglades City. And it went from like $250 a year to like $500 a year to like $1,000 a year. And then it was like 600 something quarterly. And I was like, dude, I'm freaking done.
Wow.
Even though I would charge people $500-$600 for a guide trip, an hour and a half drive there, an hour and a half drive back, 3 hours of traveling just to catch fish. I'm just like, let's see if I can figure out a little bit closer to where I live and where I'm not traveling so much in gas and stuff. And then I started guiding out in Estero Bay, in the Fort Myers Southwest area where the Gulf of Mexico is. And one year that I was getting hot and heavy with everything and stuff, and that's when red tide really took a spark in those body of waters. And man, I'm just like, I need to figure something out. I've always been passionate to bass fish. So let's see if I can take my talents in Okeechobee and start guiding over there, and then target peacock bass and, in Alligator Alley, which is very, very common in Southwest Florida or in South Florida in general. And it just so happened that, I started competing in tournaments and started doing well. And I'm like, I really like this and I really want to see if I can step up. So back in 2020, me and my wife decided to, and that was during the COVID time, we decided to randomly go up in the 4th of July to LJ, Georgia, which is the North Georgia Mountains. And she's like, let's go up there. Let's just go look at some houses and see if we like it. And I loved it, because I've always lived in Florida my whole life. And it's just something new, something different. It's not as hot like it is in Florida. It's very, it was awesome. Being in the mountains, I've never really experienced that. I'm used to flat land, 3-4 feet of water, grass and everything. And when you go up in these high reservoirs and chasing spots and herring fish and stuff like that, it's just a whole different ballgame. So the following summer, or the following year, which was 2021, which was one of my best years in Okeechobee, I started cashing checks, did really well in high-end tournaments. So that summer, I took a break from guiding and decided to go up to Georgia, where we bought a house, and stay there for the whole summer. And I really just learned how to fish herring lakes up there. Lake Chateau, Lake Nolly, Lake Lanier, Blue Ridge, Lake Carter's were the lakes that I primarily fished because they were pretty close to the house. And I looked at the wife towards the end of the summer, and I was like, we're putting our house up for sale because I do not want to go back to Florida. I'm like, forget the heat, forget all this. I'm like, if I want to make a name for myself, if I want to ever do something, pursue something in my career, like in tournament wise, I need to get out of my comfort zone and be up here and just learn something different. That's when forward facing sonar started coming upon us. And then I got that and then started grasping that as well. And I was like, okay. So we ended up selling our house in Florida and moving up to Georgia full time. And then in 2022, I remember one of my good friends named Rick Mitchell that I ended up staying up with at St. Lawrence River. He's got a house over in Black Lake. He's like, hey, Rob, there's still need people to sign up for the NPFL. There's still a few slots left. And I'm thinking to myself, dude, like, I'm way out of my game on that. I mean, I'm a Florida boy. That's my bread and butter. I'm not used to competing at a high level and just fishing different lakes all over the country. But I look back and I'm like, if I don't try to do that now, I don't know when am I going to ever do it. So I took the gamble and said, screw it. Let's just go ahead and freaking do it. And I did it. And I struggled my first year. I only got one good check, which was over in Saginaw, Michigan. And I've been close on other events where, a couple ounces away, pounds, whatever, from getting a check and stuff. But every lake that I ever traveled during that schedule, I'd never been before. It was all new to me. Never really had a lot of intel from other anglers because I'm still new from the scene to get information before cutoff and stuff like that, to try to learn lakes and what they recommend, where to go and what not to do at that time of the year. So it was all new to me. It was a learning experience. And then I took a year off because, I really wanted to focus on the business and trying to get my name out there with my construction stuff and remodeling houses and stuff like that. And then when I took that year off, I literally, it was like someone took a knife and stabbed me in the heart, because it was like, it sucked. I mean, I see my friends and everything that I made acquaintances, through the last year. I'm like, dude, I'm so jealous that you're going to these lakes or catching fish. I'm like, I tell my wife when I watch it, I'm like, I could have gotten a check this tournament. I'm like, I was like, dude, man, I need to go back. And she just knew that, like, I had to go back. So then, like, was it last year or 2 years ago? I joined the NPFL again, and yeah, I think it was like last year. It was like my best year. I didn't do so well, Logan Martin, but then I cashed 3 really good checks in a row, and then I kind of stunked it up the last 2 that kind of killed me on making the championship. I mean, I dug myself a hole. There's no one to blame or anything but myself and and my strategies and stuff like that. It is what it is. And then this year is with the schedule, with us taking forward facing sonar away, I was an advocate about not taking it away because of all the years that I learned to grasp it. And all of a sudden it's like you're sucking on a lollipop, for so long, and all of a sudden they take you away and you're just like, what do I do? Yeah. And it actually turned out pretty good. I mean, this year I've had a really good year. I did really good at Sandy, did good at Norman, stunk it up in my home lake at Douglas, which I mean, it is what it is. And had a chance to get a good really check at Eufaula, but I stunk it up in day 2. And then Obviously, St. Lawrence River. We could talk about that. That was a dream come true to ever go up there and fish that, and never been there before, and to kind of figure it out and making those long runs and stuff. When we talk about the St. Lawrence River, I'll tell you what, I had a chance to possibly win that one if I played my cards right and hitting different spots and different days and stuff like that. But yeah, that's a little bit, long story short about me. Where I'm from, Southwest Florida, moved to Georgia, moved the family, everybody to Georgia so I can learn how to fish herring lakes, and then moved up to Knoxville, Tennessee last year because I just want to be centralized in the United States so my traveling is not so expensive. Plus, I've always wanted to live in Tennessee. I'm a huge Tennessee Titans fan. I've always wanted to live in Knoxville. I love Tennessee river fishing. I just love Tennessee in general. No state income tax. I can't beat that. And I love the cold. I love fishing when it's freaking 20 degrees. I don't even care. I just love when it's cold fishing. I catch bigger fish when it's cold than I do in the heat of the summer. So it's a little bit of a long story short about myself.
Yep. Cool. And Knoxville's pretty neat because there's 4 or 5 lakes around there, and every lake has a different personality. Like Norris is deep and cold. You got Douglas and Cherokee. You got Watts Bar, Loudon. And then you're not far from Chickamauga. You can't beat that.
No, you can't beat that. And I had the same type of areas and lakes when I lived in Georgia, but the difference between there and here is that a lot of these lakes up here are big, well-known lakes. So a lot of bigger events come out of these lakes. Not a lot of big events come. Blue Ridge, Notley, Carter's, and stuff like that. The only lake to make a name for yourself is Lanier.
Yeah.
And I don't like Lanier. I hate Lanier. Well, that's another story. So, yeah.
But since you like fishing cold weather, New York is beautiful.
It is. I'm trying to convince my wife to try to go up there next summer for the whole summer to get away from this obnoxious heat that we're in right now.
Yeah, I'm 15 minutes away from Cayuga Lake.
Where at?
Cayuga Lake.
Cayuga. That was a bucket list. If my trolling motor battery didn't take a dump and everything was still working flawlessly, I was planning to go hit Cayuga on the way back home for like a half day. And I had like this, a bunch of things I wanted, a bucket list. I want to go to Niagara Falls and everything. But like once that happened, and honestly, like after dealing with 6 days of tournament fishing and 3 days of long ass driving from Messina all the way to the main lake, I was pretty burnt out. I was ready to go. Yeah. So. Well,
I'll have an extra bedroom next year if you guys come up this way.
Yeah. It's funny that you say that. Obviously the schedule is not announced yet for next year, but I'm pretty sure that we're going to go back to St. Lawrence River. I know there are just little rumors that, I remember the president was mentioning on our angler page saying if he knew the drama and everything about us running to the main lake, he probably would have put the lake off limits. So he said, so next time we go back, I'm going to make sure the lake's off limits. So it's kind of like, and then they said that they love the town of Messina and everything. So I just, even though it's, my assumption, I think we're going to end up going back next year. So
sounds like it.
It's a beautiful area, and Messina does real well promoting the fishing industry in there and helping out the anglers. But it's kind of hard to say, you won't go to Champlain.
Yeah. That's another bucket list. I wanted to go up there too as well to fish. I couldn't fit all those lakes in one go around.
No, you can't. Yeah. You can't. A good friend of the show, Eddie Parker, or Carper, he fished I think the inaugural year on the NPFL. He came over to my house last summer, and I don't think he wanted to go back home.
Yeah.
I'm addicted.
Trust me, I am still having withdrawals. I have dreams of catching giant smallmouth. I can't stop thinking about it. I contacted Rick, and he showed me a house for like $150,000. He goes, "Look at this." I'm like, can't show Pam yet, my wife. She'll freaking.
I don't know. I don't know if I want to go to Black Lake though. I love it up there, but there's too much snow in the winter.
Yeah, I wouldn't live there full time. Honestly, it'd be like a summer thing to get away. Because I do like Tennessee in the wintertime. you could actually fish in the wintertime here in Tennessee.
Yep.
But you can't
No.
do it really up there, and I'm not doing
That's not
doing
that's not
the whole
true.
do ice fishing up there. I'm done.
No, I'm not about ice fishing either. The lake by me does not freeze. And it's 600 feet deep, and they have salt mines, so there's a high salt content. It's very close to being considered a saltwater lake
Okay.
because of the salt content, and it doesn't freeze.
Oh,
So
nice.
we'll go out and we'll catch smallies in January and just love it.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, we got a couple comments here. Let's go through a couple of those. Robert Holiday says, "What's up, fellas?"
What's up, Rock?
And says Lanier is about an hour away from his house, hour and a half from his house, I should say.
Yeah, he's right there.
Yep, and he'll be at the St. Lawrence in a couple of weeks for the Toyota Series.
Absolutely. Be here before you know it.
Yes.
They're going to be out deep in August. Yep. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. You could still get them in 5 to 25.
Yeah.
In August.
I still, those fish. There's fish that live shallow all year long. So I mean,
there is.
Yeah. I mean, you'll still find the shallow fish, but I would assume it's towards the end of the summer for them. So fish are still going to be deep and transitioning, going up shallow to to feed up and fatten up for the wintertime.
Right. Yeah, it's a unique fishery. You being down south, you don't get to experience that as much as I do. The type of fishery it is, and like you just said, fish. It doesn't matter. There's fish still on beds now, and they'll be on beds in end of July, August, if you could find them.
If you could find them, yeah. Meat over the haystack, yeah.
Exactly. But no, so let's go back to start talking about the St. Lawrence. What was your did you have any preconceived thoughts on it coming up?
No, so before the cutoff, my buddy Rick Mitchell that has a house on Black Lake, he kind of gave me, some ideas to what to do. He mentioned that about this time last year, he said that the fish were up roaming and shallow. So you don't really need forward-facing sonar, Rob. You can go out there and find them shallow, and he calls them sniping. So be able to snipe them and stuff like that. And again, like last year, it wasn't as harsh winter like it was this year. So those fish were off beds. So he was basically implying that, saying like this was like, post spawn, and the fish go out deep after they spawn and they go back up shallow in schools and stuff like that. So he was catching a lot of roamers and stuff like that. And he called it sniping. So he gave me some spots like fox, grandier, gallo, duck, and then some stuff along the on the main river, like in Waddington, somewhere in like Clayton area, Alexandria, Chippewa Bay. So when all the spots that he gave me, I literally on the first 2 days of practice, that's what I did was stayed on the main river because it was really rough on the first 2 days of practice. I wasn't able to get on the main lake. I tried on day one, and it was just like it just wasn't worth it beating my boat. And I knew like the last day was the day to go out there, and I already was set in stone on going there on the last day. So I caught the heck out of them the first 2 days of practice. Anywhere I went, whether it was a drop shot off a point, catching 3-4 pounders, went up shallow. Waddington was pretty cool. I had 20 plus pounds on top water on a spook in like 15, 20 minutes. So I had like some backup stuff in case and I didn't figure something out in the main lake I would fall to. But then like the last day of practice, it was calm. I launched out of Cape Vincent. The first thing I did was go to Fox Island, and I literally took the trolling motor on 15 and went around the whole son of a bitch. Sorry, part of my speech. I went around the whole damn.
No, you're good.
Oh, the whole darn island. I apologize.
Yep.
And I marked a bunch of beds and stuff. That fish were still on there. Some big 4, 5, 6 pounders and stuff. And I had a pretty good day out there, or a good couple hours. I mean, I kind of figured it out. And then I'm like, I want to go to gallo and duck. And then I thought to myself, I'm like, dude, do I really want to make this run? from Messina all the way from the mouth to all the way to there. I'm like, unless I can find a big sack, I didn't really want to travel that far. So what I did was I went closer to the mouth and I went towards the Canadian side. And I ran up to the Canadian side because the day before official practice, they just opened the Canadian part to allow us to bass fish. So
Wow.
the Canadian area was still kind of fresh, in my opinion. Not a lot of people. There's going to be people out there that don't care about the rules and still out there bed fishing and stuff like. But if you are an honest person and you go out there and follow the rules, those fish were primarily, really, really fresh, in my opinion, instead of like the areas in the American side, which a lot of the fish have been beat up, over and over and over. So went up to the Canadian side and I was fishing, from, where Wolf Island is, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So I fished basically the mouth of Wolf Island on the main lake and fished all those back coves and everything. And I found like 3 areas that were just completely loaded on beds. And I was like, dude, this is pretty sick. But Patrick Walters was there during practice. So he saw me and I saw him, Buck Mallory, Greg Hackney. So when I saw those guys, I knew that I knew I was around the right areas. Yep. If they're going to be there and they've been there more times than I've ever been in my life, then yeah, I think I'm doing something good. So
yeah.
So yeah, they won the event. I was boat 1, and I'm like, I know I only had like 3 hours to fish, and I really, really wanted to fish Waddington and stuff like that and see if I can scratch a limit. But then I'm like, I really need to do good in this tournament to move up in AOY to get back in the top 40 for the championship. And so I had to take the gamble. I was like, screw it, I'm going to take the gamble. And I had never made that run in my entire life. I don't even know. I never even asked information about it. I just asked a couple anglers where you guys get gas. They said near French Creek Marina, which is in Clayton. And they said if you run between 60 and 65 miles an hour, you'll preserve a lot of gas. They said never floor it really top speed because you have a chance of burning more oil or possibly burning a power head. Sometimes those engines, as new as they are, and my boat's pretty new, anything could happen. So I didn't really want to take the chance. So I followed the rules and followed the 60, 65 miles an hour. And I get up there and so I get up to my first spot and on day 1 and I caught a 6'7" smallmouth. That was my first fish of the day.
Wow.
Yeah. And then once I caught that, I just knew I was pretty locked in. I just need, I just needed 4 really good ones, like 4.5, 5 pounders, which I did caught within, a couple hours. And I gave myself plenty of time to go back. So I left like at noon. I didn't have to be checked in until 3. But then as I got closer to the mouth of the river, my engine started going off and engine light was basically my oil was going down. So my light bulb went in my head that right before we launched that morning, I went back to my truck and got a gallon of oil because I'm like, you never know. And thank God I brought that.
Good thing.
So screwed. So I opened my Calling up. I put the oil in and stuff like that. And I called the tournament director, Brad Fuller, at the time. It's actually Sean Mulhall is the tournament director, but Brad Fuller was in for him because Sean was out of town for some family vacation. So I called Brad and I was like, hey, listen, Brad, this is my situation going on. I know my traveling partner, Will Harkins, is around the Clayton area. Is there any way I could give him a call? He can meet up with me and follow me in case my engine goes out because we were checking in at the same time at 3 o'clock. Can he bring my fish back? And he goes, yes. Give him a call. Let him know. Meet up. You just can discuss what you have for weight and stuff like that. So I was like, okay, cool. Went to French Creek Marina, got gas for the second time, 100 freaking bucks later, met up with Will, and we rode all the way back. And I actually got back in time, perfect. And then there was no ifs, buts, no bumps in the road. I guess I topped oil just enough, and I never had an issue with oil the rest of the tournament. And that's how my day 1 went. I think, thank God I gave myself 3 hours to get back because I needed all that time. Because I never, especially when you're going through like Alexandria Bay, there's like that 35 mile an hour zone. And there's pleasure boats every there, and everything's a washing machine. So you're just bouncing all over the crap and stuff. And I was like, dude, this sucks on the ride back, because on the way there was no one around. But
Yep.
on the way back, I'm like, I wasn't expecting all this stuff. Again, I never made that run before, so I was, you know. And so day 2, I had a longer day. I was last boat going out because they do the reverse order. And I had a spot that, like I was telling you, like I felt like I had a chance to win this if I played my musical chairs right. So on day 1, I had a big area that I had a lot of fish on beds. But then on day 2, I found another area during practice, which is a little cove, that they were loaded as well. So I wanted to go there on day 2. That was kind of my game plan. I get there, Walters was right there, Hackney, Buck. Walters and Buck were sitting right on the 5-pounders I had marked. I was like, oh, great. So I kind of had a fish around them and stuff like that, and ended up getting a quick limit, and then ended up going to my primary spot and ended up, doing well. Got like 22, almost 23 pounds again. And then, gave myself time to go back to the lake or go back to the boat ramp. And then what's cool about the MPFL is that, they reward you if you do good. And for instance, like I was sitting in 13th going to the last day. So they go out first place. So first place goes out first, second, third, and fourth. And usually like 1 through 10 has got the later check-in time. So we're given like to go out before everybody else and get a later check-in. So I was checking in at 5 o'clock. And so I had another long day. I was like, good, I need 5.5 hours. It's almost 6 hours to fish. I need all the time I can to get out there, because it takes 2 hours to get there and then 2 hours to get back. If you time it
at least 2 hours to get back.
At least 2 hours to get back. But yeah, I mean, my 2 boats in my console from all the wakes, because I have a Helix and a Lowrance, was putting a lot of pressure on the console, so the console started snapping.
Ooh.
I had to deal with that crap. And then on the last day of practice, my trolling motor battery took a crap. So Rick let me borrow his trolling motor for the first 2 days of the event, and it ran flawlessly. But on the last day of the event, I borrowed someone else's trolling motor, a backup one, and I didn't charge it the night before, which was my mistake. He told me I didn't need to charge it, but he should charge it, but I just didn't charge it. I assumed that it was fine. And I get out there on the last day, first thing in the morning, and thank God Rick was out there. And the reason why I gave his trolling motor back is he wanted to go out there and spectate me and watch me fish for a couple of hours. Thank God he was out there, because I called Brad Fuller. It was a hard time getting a hold of him because I was in Canada and I couldn't get any service whatsoever. But I finally got the hold of him. He says, yes, go ahead. You can swap everything over. So we went ahead and did that, and I went out with fishing. And then here's another issue. One of my live wells stopped pumping in water. So I had to use a bait tray to fill up water on my live wells, because I couldn't put all my big fish on one. I couldn't put all the fish on one live well. I like to use both of them. I like to use one live well for my coaling and one for my bigger fish.
Yeah.
I think every angler does that. And so I kept using a little bucket to fill up the water, put the ice on the fish and that kind of thing. Then getting ready to leave and start heading back, my GPS started working on my Lowrance. So I got a really good visual memorization. I could have not had a GPS and got back perfectly fine. But I put like my Hummingbird away and everything, because it was putting on so much weight on my console. It was breaking. And I was like, okay, like my Lowrance, my GPS puck just stopped working completely. I didn't understand. I tried to figure out what was underneath. Didn't have time. I'm like, let me just put my Hummingbird Lake Master on there and use it. So then I'm running back and using that. And, it was just crazy. Like, I'm sore. I'm still beat up to death about, making that run for 3 days in a row and everything. But like I told my wife and I told everybody, is I would do that again in a heartbeat. It was that much fun. I caught so much fish. It was just a pretty cool techniques I was using to catch these fish. Obviously I had them on beds, but there were a bunch of roamers. So I would throw like a bruiser bait rat shad to lure them and to find out. That's how I caught my big one. To kind of see if they would follow the bait. As soon as they follow the bait, if they don't pick that bait, I go ahead and throw a Ned rig or a tube or a drop shot, and one of those three was working. And that's kind of how I was fishing. I would lure them in with that lure, with the rat shad, which is like a fluke, and then I would follow it up with those with the Ned rig, drop shot, and a tube, and they either bite one of those three. It was not every single time. I mean, it's not like I saw one, they went away, I didn't go chase it, I just threw it way past them, let it sit, doink, hit it, caught another 4-pounder. It was stupid. It was the most fun fishing, the most stressful, hectic. I swear, like I keep telling God, put me through so much obstacles, through baseballs in my face and body and everything, and I overcame that stuff. And not only that, to top it all off, day one in practice, I freaking smoked a deer on my truck. Yeah.
Oh man.
I just had so much crap going on, and I'm really happy I got a top 20 finish, because that paid $10,000 or more. And I needed every one of that money, especially for how much gas I spent. I spent like $2,800. But it was totally worth it. Like I mentioned earlier, like if I played my musical chairs right and went to my day 2 spot first, and then did that vice versa, went day 1 the last 2 days, I probably could have had a better bag and probably would have had a chance to win it. But that's just me saying that. I mean, everything happens for a reason. When it's your time, it's your time.
Yeah.
But I keep replaying that stuff in my head. I'm like, oh, I should have did this, should have did this.
Yep.
But when you're only given like 3 to 5 hours to fish 3 days in a row, it's hard. You have to really be efficient with your timing and stuff.
Yeah. Yes. And that's the one thing that people don't realize when you're fishing a tournament. That is a long run. So the strategy, you have to use strategy in that. And it could be a 2-hour smooth run on the way down. Well, on the way back, because none of the pleasure boaters are out there in the morning.
Yeah.
Come 11 o'clock, they're out there.
Yeah.
And you've got pontoon boats and cigar boats and speed boats and this boat and drug running boats and all,
And those big cargo boats too make those crazy waves, and they go on for miles. You know what I mean? Like you can be perfectly calm, and then you get one, and your boat's going airborne, and then just bouncing. I'm like, okay, I have to still deal with this. I'm going up and down, and then when you finally get going, you have to deal with it again. So yeah.
And that 2-hour trip can turn into a 3 to 4 hour trip of so that's a big factor up there. What did you think of the weights? Was it better than you thought it was going to be? Do you think they weren't as good as they were, or you thought they'd be?
I thought they were better than I thought. I thought it was going to take like 17 to 19 to get paid, and I think it took 20 pounds a day to get paid. Wow. When I brought in my bag, I'm like, I think I'm going to be in the top 10, top 5. Hopefully I get camera, but no, I fell through on that. A lot of people caught them, and a lot of people that ran that far, like Clayton to the main lake, were the people that got paid. I think there were some people that fished in Waddington and did pretty well. But if you wanted to have a shot and really get a good payday, you had to make that run. I mean, period. I mean, that's everybody knows that. There's no brainer. If all the history that you look back and all the tournament results, everybody makes that run. Especially that time of the year when they're still on beds, they're coming up, roaming and stuff. Especially in Canada when it wasn't getting pressured. I mean, you had to make that run. Period. And like I said, I've never been there before. Just got the little information I got before the cutoff, before the beginning of the year. It's crazy how it all happened. And I mean, I wouldn't change a thing. Like I said, maybe I would have done a couple different things differently on the days that I had a chance to go one spot to another. But everything happens for a reason, and I'm pretty happy, pretty satisfied. I'm looking forward to going back. Like I said, next summer I would like to go up there for quite some time and get away from the heat, and just the fishing up there is just, and it's just not the main lake. I mean, you can stroke them on the river. I mean, you can throw a chatterbait or throw whatever, and you can fish grass. I mean, I had a couple 4 or 5 pounders on some grass flats up against some I call them buggy whips or pencil reeds. And you can see them. And I'm like, what is a smallmouth doing like this? Like a largemouth should be like here, but no, it's actually a jump. So it's just a pretty cool fishery. I like to expand a little bit more than what I found, especially next year, and especially if we go back next year and stuff like that. It'd be pretty cool.
Awesome. Rob, any questions?
Yeah. Now, when you like you're going to a new lake like that, do you have a certain plan? Do you like pre-study maps and try to get some intel? Or how do you kind of break down a new lake like that you're going to?
Yeah. So when we get announced the schedule, and we have, I think, the beginning of the calendar year to get as much information you want. Once the calendar year hits, you're not allowed to get any information.
Right.
So I think besides Logan Martin and Douglas, I never fished any of those other lakes on their schedule. And I didn't go pre-practice any lakes. Only lake I really spent time was on Douglas, and then I'm going to spend some time on Logan Martin just because it's a little bit closer to the house, and I got to get a top 40 to make the championship on that one. So I got to really do good on that. But yeah, I get like a little intel. I call a couple buddies. I fish the elites, fish BBT, and then some people that are local. I just kind of pick their ear, and they kind of tell me what not to do. Really, I don't get primarily spots. It's basically navigational. For instance, Sandy Cooper, I got a lot of information about people telling me where not to run. Follow the markers because of the floating timber, the standing timber. You can knock out your lower unit. I didn't want to deal with that. Even though I made a really big run all 3 days, but it panned out really good. I got 19th, got a really good payday on that. And like I said, I've never been there before. But yeah, Google Earth is always a big thing to kind of like look and see like what areas could be hot, looks good on paper, that kind of thing. And then going back on YouTube videos of whether it's guide captains that, do weekly, monthly reports on that body of water, or previous tournament history, whether if the elites or MLF, or if we were there last time and stuff like that. To kind of get a little glimpse of like what it might take, or that kind of thing. But yeah, I just kind of like for St. Lawrence River, I kind of just showed up and fished. It was such a big body of water, it was hard to break it down. So like I spent like one day in one particular area and covered as much. I didn't want to run here all over the place. No. There's no sense of that. Just if you got some fish here, you can just expand. And then day 2 of practice, I basically spend 3/4 of the day Waddington, and then went up to Chippewa Bay and just looked at and expanded from what I found on day 1. And then last day of practice, of course, it was calm enough, and I went out to the main lake and just adventure around there, and it was pretty cool. And I found those areas at the last 6 hours of practice, and what's cool about like our map cards and everything, especially Lake Master, it shows you like different boulders and stuff like that. So what I was really targeting is like boulders really shallow. So I went as far as I can and just took the shoreline and looked, and I found those stars and rocks on the maps. And then every time I did, I find a squad of them bedding or some roamers. So that's how I ended up finding that spot on the last day of practice, and I ended up finishing for the 3 days of the event. And that's when you do, if you've never been to an area before, obviously try to get information you can, if you're allowed to get information from other anglers and guides and stuff like that. But Google Earth, YouTube videos, Facebook has a bunch of forum pages. A lot of people put like Sandy Cooper fishing, and then you just check up their forum page and see what people have posted, week to week. Make sure you're monitoring the weather. So like after each event, I'll delete that body of water on that weather, and then for the next month or how long before we go to that lake, I'll just monitor the weather, check out the water conditions, whether the waters go up or is it down, the water temperature. So I'm on point and seeing exactly what's going to happen weather-wise, clarity, temperature, whether the water's up or down. It'll give me a good indication on what to do when I go there.
Yeah. Speaking of that, Knoxville TVA's got a app and you can pull up lake levels and all that. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is pretty cool. Yeah. And yeah, but like Douglas, for instance, I mean, when I went to go pre-practice that, it was like 40 feet down from,
Yeah.
and then our tournament, it's like 40 feet up, full pool. Actually, it went higher. It was actually like 6 or 7 feet higher than full pool. So all the fishes were up in the bushes and everything. It was pretty cool. So, yeah.
Heard that. Yeah, it's a pretty awesome area.
Mm-hmm.
But and then what's your, like, if you go to the lake and you only have one technique you can use, what is your favorite kind of confidence technique? What do you like doing?
I jackhammer, try to bait. I'm a power fisherman. That's what I like to do.
That's me.
Yeah, I mean, I can. My thing is, especially without forward-facing sonar, is casting as many times as possible. I think you have a higher percentage of catching fish.
Yep.
You might not catch the absolute giants, but you may stumble on something, and then another technique will happen once you figure that out. But I like to cast as much as I can. I'll break my back to death just to get that one last cast. I mean, that's especially with no forward-facing sonar. If I had forward-facing sonar, I mean, I'll probably just sit there and wait until I see a fish and then cast to it. I mean, that's how I fish, forward-facing sonar. So
I got you.
Yeah.
Nice. And there are places like that up there where you can just travel the shoal back and forth and throw chatterbait and get 22, 25 pounds.
In the St. Lawrence River?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Hey, talk to me and I can help you out there.
Yeah.
Brock Mosley did good on chatterbait out there a few years ago. I remember.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people that did throw chatterbait. But what surprised me about that event is, I was shocked. Yeah, the weights were shocking. I thought it was going to take 17, 19 to get paid, and it was a lot more than that. But I was surprised a lot of people didn't. There's some people that struggled, which I was very shocked that. Like, why would they? Like, a lot of people told me, like, how do you struggle at the St. Lawrence River? How do you not catch 5 or catch only 1 fish? And sometimes if it's not your time, it's not your time. But
yes,
I mean, but that place is like I was telling my wife, every day during practice, I had over 20 plus pounds. And the last day of practice, I had almost 26. I had 23 the first day, 22 the next day, 20 and change the last day. On the second day, I probably caught 3 bags over 20 pounds. It was dumb. Absolute dumb. I don't know any other fishery in the United States that you can do that, and the fish, you don't burn out a fish,
No. Unreal.
Yeah, it's definitely, if nobody's ever been up there, you need to. However, I will advise you, make sure you can drive a boat really well.
Yeah. And I wish boats had cruise control, because my sciatic nerve is killing me on my own. Oh, it sucks.
You might. What you need to do is get a chiropractor for a sponsor.
There you go.
Yeah, I should. I know. Yeah.
No, I mean, I offer this to a lot of people. I'm 15 minutes away from Cuba Lake, 45 minutes from Oneida, an hour from Lake Ontario, and an hour and a half from Clayton. If you and your wife want to come up, you got a spare bedroom, spare bathroom, you're more than welcome. Just let me know and you can reserve it. What's that?
I said, just give you a holler. Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
But no, I was actually shocked. I thought the weights were going to be a little higher, because of all the people that have been there before that I saw on that list. And but 20 pounds a day, no matter what fisher you're going to, that's good.
That's awesome.
Especially without forward-facing sonar.
Yes. But then you look at it and it's like, man, you had to get, what was it? 20 pounds a day was, I want to say, almost 30. Well, Matt Herron had, he was in 32nd and he had 59.14.
Wow.
For 3 days of fishing.
It's crazy.
So, it's definitely a fishery that every term organization, I don't care if you're the LBAA, the East Texas Bass Anglers, or whoever, you need to hit that body of water.
Oh yeah.
So, what was the biggest surprise for you coming up here, outside of the price of gas and all that?
The biggest surprise, just how big the area really was. When you look at the map, it doesn't look as intimidating until you put your boat on there and you're just like, everything looks good.
Like ocean, you're an ocean.
Exactly. And that's just the main lake. I'm just talking about the river in general. Like when I got there and I'm like, what do I do? Let me hit this point because this looks so good with grass, and then the water's so clear there. It's like, and I caught myself a lot during practice. I would go to like a reed head and pick up a frog and start throwing that. And I'm like, okay, stop. You're not going to get a check by throwing this crap. You know what I mean? So stop, Robert. I know you want to catch a giant largemouth throwing a frog in the pencil reeds, because I've been up in Saginaw Bay multiple times, and you can do that in the marshes out there and just catch 150 largemouth throwing a frog, topwater, buzzbait. It's stupid. It's dumb how the fishing is there, and it kind of reminds me of the St. Lawrence River. What's so cool about these northern fisheries is that instead of like down in Tennessee and Florida and Texas, you can't fish them all year round. So those fish don't get the pressure 24/7, 365 days a year. It's only like half a year, 4 months out of the year, sometimes 5 months. So when they sit and and stay dormant all winter long, and and they want to feed, they just, dude, like I caught a few fish on beds on the last day of practice, and I had like 26 and change. I went back on the next day, and caught the same fish.
Wow.
I mean, that's how dumb they were.
And did it surprise you? I mean, you had said it surprised you that some of the guys didn't do as well as you thought they would.
Yeah, it was a little surprising. It was surprising that certain people that I thought would struggle actually did really, really well. But you can't discredit anybody in that league.
Correct.
Everybody is very talented. It's very hard to compete in this field. I'm in my third year in fishing the NPFL, and I seem like every year it gets a little bit harder and harder with the talent, that we get from the elites and people from LMLF and just the household names that we get all around the world. This year has been a true testament. I feel like if you can hang with these guys, then you can hang with anybody. And I'm kind of proving that to myself. I still got a lot to prove. I'm still very new at this. Even though I'm starting to get a little bit older. So I'm not as young as I was in my 20s, where I have all the energy and I can go from sun up to sundown. I still do that, but man, it does put a lot of wear and tear in your body. You got to take care of yourself. Then, how you eat and, what to drink throughout the day and that kind of thing. I went in this year and I approached myself this year, eating a little bit better. Taking away certain sugars, and I don't drink soda. I don't drink beer. I drink seltzers, White Claws. I eat a lot of healthy things on the water. I don't eat a lot of bread because it fogs with you and makes you tired. And over the years, I used to be obsessed with PBJs and stuff like that, and I just kind of got off of that and stuff. I've lost a lot of weight doing what I need to do, but it's also made me a little bit more efficient, having a little bit more energy. I remember like last year, I was like. And just towards the end of the year, I was like so fogged out, and I mean, even though I took a beating in St. Lawrence River, I'm ready to get back out there again and compete. So,
absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that body of water. I mean, it's so big, you can't cover the entire thing in a week.
No.
I mean, I love it there. The fishing is incredible. I just can't wait to get back.
Me too. You're pretty it's hot here. I was just telling the wife we looked at some property for her son, and I'm like, I just kept telling her, I'm like, we need to buy a house in New York, and she goes, shut up. Like, stop with the nonsense. I'm like, no, you don't understand. Like, I need to get away from this heat and go up there and catch smallmouth. I'm like, it's an addictive.
It is. you know, here's a plan for you. Buy one on around Oneida Lake. Okay, that's a central location, and it's also a big tournament area.
Mm-hmm.
So you can always Airbnb it whenever you want.
Yeah.
There's ice fishing. You can do it during the winter. You know, I mean, you might even be able to pay for your season doing that.
Wow.
Yeah. No, you can. I know a couple guides up there that make really good money. You know, they run a lot of doubles and triples, you know, especially in the St. Lawrence River. If I was going to look at a place, that doesn't intrigue me. The Oneida area is really pretty. But like near Cape Vincent.
Yes.
Yeah, right around there, because you're still next to the river, but you still have a chance to go out on the main lake. And we all know this. We've talked about this already. In order to do good in the St. Lawrence River, you got to fish the lake, period.
Yeah.
That is true.
Absolutely.
We're at a spot in the show where we'd like to, we're 50 minutes in, 50 minutes in. And we like to let our anglers talk about their sponsors and things like that. I'll let you do that in a minute, but Tanya Hachowski saying hello.
Hey, Tanya.
But yeah, so if you want to go ahead and talk about your sponsors, people who supported you, had your back along the way, go right ahead.
Yeah.
Floor is yours.
Okay, awesome. You guys see a hat right now, Grind for Five. It's a new clothing company. A kid named Hagen Cranfield, Hagen and Camden. Hagen is his father. Camden is the son. They both run a small clothing company. I met them at the East Tennessee show. They're really cool people. They ended up, especially, you know, when I moved to a different city, it was a little bit difficult to kind of get sponsorships again. I couldn't primarily get the ones I had in Georgia because I had moved. I was able to obtain a few of them back, but not all of them like I wanted to. So they stepped up big time this year. Really cool clothing line. They got really cool hats, good apparel. I posted a video on my social media if you want to take a look at it. It's like a minute and a half long and basically breaks down of what they are, who they are, and what they represent. I've been with Bruiser Baits for quite some time. Let's say 7, 8, 9, 10 years. I don't even know. A long time. Okay. And Steve Dow, who's the owner of them, is one of my best friends, one of my mentors I look up to a lot. We talk at least once or twice a week. He's always supported me and stuff like that. Whenever I need anything, any customs or anything of that sort, I can always give him a call. And what's cool about Bruiser, and I know a lot of big companies do the same thing, but what I like about these smaller companies is that you can work with the owner quite a bit and try to come up with different creative plastic custom colors and stuff. It's not your generic standard crap that you get from these big bait companies and stuff like that. And it's hard to get your foot in the door. These smaller companies, they'll work with you. They get what you want and stuff. I was able to bring a few anglers this year to join Bruiser Baits, and they absolutely love them. Arc Rods, I've been with them, you know, just as long as I've been with Bruiser. I'm really good friends with Justin, Markwood, and Louie, who are the owners and the general manager at Arc. Love them to death. They've been very supportive with me throughout my years because I, you know, look at my tournament career. It's a roller coaster. Yeah. Either I do really good or I suck. I'm never in between. So, and so, I mean, I consistently, I've been consistently this year, but it's been like, if I either do a really good tournament or I suck, you know, it's like, yeah. But, you know, no matter what happens, they're always there to support me. If I need a rod, if I break a rod, because I break rods all the time, it just happens. I mean, I boat flip fish and rod tip breaks. It just crap like that happens. There's nothing you can do about it. They got really good reels. Their spinning reels are awesome. I've rarely greased them or anything. I never had any issues with their bait casters or their spinning rods. And again, their rods are awesome. So I've been with them for quite some time. I kind of sponsored myself this year. So Big League Charters is my charter company here in Knoxville, Tennessee. And I primarily guide out of Fort Loudon, Tellico, Watts Bar, Chickamauga, Douglas. I can go to Melton Hill if you want. But I prefer to not go there because the fish are so darn small. So I really, Tellico is like my juice. I usually go there and target smallmouth and stuff like that. The Butcher and Bottle is a restaurant business down in Georgia. They got a place in LJ, in Canton, and some places in Atlanta. It's a big restaurant chain and stuff like that. And they stepped up big time this year compared to what I got from them last year. I appreciate Adam Aneker, who is the owner of the company. We talk all the time and stuff like that. First Option Mortgage is a mortgage company that's based out of Georgia. Ned Harrison, he's the corporate leading manager over there. He stepped up. He's good friends with Adam. So Adam and them, that's how I kind of got their relationships with them, and they both took care of me this year. Carver's window tinting in Georgia and Blue Ridge area is a good window tinting guy. Does residential and commercial tinting as well. Mega Custom Lures. Taylor Watkins, who's a 3-time MPFL champion, owns the company. He makes really good spinner baits and jigs. Really hit him up because he's one of the few out there that are very genuine. Just like Steve Dial from Bruiser Baits, very genuine human being. Will do anything for you, or if you have any questions, he'll definitely reach you in ample time. I'm trying to think of who else I'm leaving out. Choose Wisely is a real estate company. They were my title sponsors last year, but they're from Georgia, so they didn't fit their budget to sponsor me again, especially living in Knoxville. But they helped me out this year as well, and pretty much that's it for sponsorships this year. Titan Turf and Titan Fencing. It's a fencing company. I actually work for the guy, Stephen McRae. I work part-time with him. What's so cool about him is he's actually a former baseball player. And so he knows about chasing the dream and everything. And I think it was after Norman, I told him, listen, my pocketbook is getting a little tight. So I was wondering if you could hire me part-time. And he goes, oh, cool. Yeah, let's go cut yards and stuff like that. I was like, oh, great. I'm 40 years old. I'm going to have to do this crap. But he's really cool with fitting my schedule whenever I need to leave to do like doctor's appointments, or my wife has something going on, the dogs. What's cool is that he lives in the same neighborhood as I do. So a lot of projects and jobs are like 10, 15 minutes from the house. So I'm able to sneak out, go get lunch at the house and that kind of thing. But yeah, my sponsors this year are freaking awesome. I love them to death. I hope I can obtain them for next year, and hopefully I can pick up some more people. I think this year I'm starting to make a voice for myself, a name for myself, and people are starting to recognize me. So hopefully I can pick up a few other people along the way. It'd be nice because, we all know this sport is very expensive, and as much as people want to get involved with professional fishing, they got to really think outside the box, like how expensive it is. $31,000 of entry fees, and then all your fuel, your gas, your expenses turns out to $50,000. And what if you break down? There's another 10 grand. So at the end of the day, it's like $60,000 to $70,000 to fish professionally. And if you're not cashing checks, and if you don't have a big sponsorship, your bank accounts start depleting. And then you have to really look at yourself in the mirror and say, is it really worth it? As much as you really love it and you love the grind, like, is it like, you got to be good enough to cash checks and make and break even. Unless you win one of these things, which is very hard to do. Look at this year. Out of the 5 tournaments, 4 out of the 5 events have been elite winners.
Yeah.
Besides the one, Chad Mahler from having a Eufaula. He's from Texas. He's the average fisherman. That's what he calls himself. Yep. It's very hard. So my advice for people that really want to take this seriously is you got to build your social media brand. Yeah. You got to post every day. And I've been slacking a lot. I did really good in the beginning of the year, and I kind of been slacking because I've just been working so much. And it's hard to be on and consistent all the time, and I kind of fell through it a little bit, but I'm starting to, here's the thing. As much as I want to post every day and post videos and everything, a lot of people, they don't care if you do bad. They only care if you do good. Like when I was doing good in this event, I started getting calls nonstop from people. When I do shitty, no one wants to talk to you because no one cares if you do crap. No one wants a recap video of you getting 90th place at Lake Douglas. People want a recap video of you getting the top 20 at St. Lawrence River. So it's, you get those fans as well. But like my advice is like, make sure you step up your social media, post as much as possible, make reels, TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. Another big thing too, I tell people is make sure you have like a side job that pays very well.
Yeah.
Something that you could fall back on. And especially if you go through humps on the road and you don't cash 2 or 3 checks in a row and 3 big events and you just wasted 20 grand, you got to make sure you have some money to back it up. You know what I mean? Because it does become very expensive, and then it burns you to death. And it's like,
Yes.
you just, like I said, you look yourself in the mirror and be like, am I even worthy and good enough to compete? I want to think that, but on paper, I'm not doing that. So I got to take a step back.
Yeah.
All right, sir. I appreciate you coming on. I'd like to have you on again, talk about after the NPFL season and when you do make the championship, because you're right there. You're close to it. And just maybe do a recap of the season. You know, we don't have to talk a lot about Douglas Lake or, you know, anything like that. But, you know, just recap of the season.
You really want to know what happened to Douglas Lake? Let's put this up. I thought I had a chance to possibly win that. I think what it was is I felt like I can win it with the pattern I was doing, but I couldn't. On practice, I had about 13, 15 pounds, which did great. Would have gotten you a high paycheck, top 5, top 10. But I just couldn't get anything big to bite on the last 3 days of tournament. I could not get a big fish at all. And if I seen it, they were being skittish. It was the weirdest thing. But I think I put so much emphasis on that event and so much of my, like, I got my buddy Noah that does all my media stuff, that I flew him up there because I think this is what was one of the tournaments I was going to do good and get it and win it would beat this one. But man, it is what it is. So, but again, thank you guys so much for even having me on. I love coming on and talking about podcasts. I can sit there and talk about fishing 24/7. So
absolutely. Yeah. Douglas gets a ton of pressure. I mean, that lake gets pounded.
It does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But all right.
Yeah, man. Next time I'm down in Knoxville, man, I'll take you up to do dinner sometime, man. Well, I'll have to hit you up.
Yeah, give me a shout. I'm around. I'm here all year long. Until next summer, I'm going to be up north because I'm not doing this heat anymore. I'm done.
Don't blame you. Don't blame you.
All right, buddy. Well, hey, you take care. Thank your wife for us for letting us borrow you for a little over an hour, and you take care.
I appreciate it, guys. Thank you so much. Have a blessed
day.
Right.
Later, buddy. Thanks now.
Bye-bye.
All right. Wow, great guy,
nice.
Man. Great guy.
Oh, yeah. I think the NPFL anglers are kind of like the LBAA.
Yeah.
Because you see the passion, you see the love for the sport. It's not just about making money. It's about what they can share and spread and you know, the educational aspect of it.
Absolutely. Great guys.
Yes. All right, folks. Well, hey, thank you for tuning in again. Appreciate you guys coming in, watching us all week. And everybody be safe. If you have any questions, send us messages. I'm not sure exactly who we have next week.
But we'll be here Monday night.
Yes, we will.
And one more thing going out the door. Look up Fisher. Great jerseys. And just got this jersey and got one of their backpacks. And man, it's awesome. Love it. So look them up, fishher.com.
Oh, speaking of Fisher, one of our guests for Monday, Ms. Rhonda Pitts.
Yep.
She's in 4th place as a co-angler up on Lake Erie, I believe they're at.
Yep.
So congratulations congratulations to the ladies fishing that. And you guys take care and be safe. Have a good weekend.
Peace.